Hi, Trevor here, reflecting on life through music. Thank you for stopping by. Well, coming again today, you're very, very welcome. I trust you enjoyed my last video on Aussie band The Cat Empire, so I trust you found that one encouraging. Well, we're going from there to country music royalty today. I know I use that word a little bit, but this guy absolutely is. Born in 1934 in Kirkland, Arkansas, this guy is renowned for sorrowful moral tribulation and redemption lyrics. He was actually born to some cotton farmers. He was the youngest of four, and he can trace his heritage back to 11th century Scotland in Fife. In fact, it was around the age of 5 he actually started working in those cotton fields, and because the family lived through the Great Depression, he became to have an affinity with people that were doing it tough. At the age of 12, his brother had a really bad saw accident. The saw was not protected and it kind of cut him, and he didn't really look back from that point, unfortunately. At that point, though, he started to play and write some songs. The guy we're talking about is Johnny Cash. Hi, I'm Johnny Cash. In 1950, he enlisted in West Germany and in the army, and he was involved in Morse code cracking of Russian code in particular. And apparently, he was the first American to be told of Stalin's death by Morse code, of course. But before he left, he met Vivian Libretto. And while he was away, thousands and thousands of letters were exchanged between the two of them. And when he got back, he did marry her. It was then he decided to do some study as a radio announcer. And one of the first, but he was also getting noticed a little bit with around the tracks with some music and some records, who actually also had just recently signed Elvis Presley. Thought, actually, there's something about this guy. I think we'll give him a bit of a go. And they released the song Cry, Cry, Cry. Now, this is a pretty big song for Johnny Cash, one of his most well-known songs, actually, given it's his first single. We've got a TV version going all the way back to 1961. Now, Johnny Cash was only just starting out at this point, so it's good to see a younger version of himself. In 1956, Elvis Presley actually, Carl Perkins and Jerry Lee Lewis kind of all popped in on one of Johnny Cash's sessions, and they had a bit of a jam session, and the recording, the studio guy just let the tape running, $1 million recording right there. But it was in 1956, out came Folsom Prison Blues. This song went to number 5, and also one of Johnny Cash's well-known songs in 1956. We've got the live version here with the Highwaymen, which was a little bit later in his career. Waylon Jennings, Chris Christopherson and Willie Nelson and Johnny Cash got together to create the Highwaymen. In 1956, also one of his most well-known songs, and there was a movie made about Johnny Cash. I Walk the Line was the title of that movie, and this is the song Johnny Cash with his Hot and Blue Guitar was the name of the album. This song went to number 1. We've got a live version of this one. We've also got a TV version in the early 1970s, I think it was. 69 to 71. Johnny Cash did actually have a TV show, and Johnny Cash just has a way about him, does he? Do notice that his voice is actually quite low as he sings. He was a bit of a high singer when he was a kid, but when his voice broke, that all went down to low. And of course, this is his most iconic sound, is that low voice that he's got. It's around that time that he left Sun Records and signed to Columbia Records. And joy, are they glad he did that, because he was with them for most of his career. And we've got Please Don't Take Your Guns to Town. We've got a live version of that one. One of Johnny Cash's most well-known songs as well. Interestingly, before he left Sun Records, there was a stack of material that had been recorded with them. So Johnny Cash was, I suppose, in the enviable position of having two labels releasing stuff at the same time. It's pretty cool. It was around this time too that Johnny Cash started to get known as The Undertaker because he always wore black on stage. In 1960, he met the Carter family. Now, we know about the relationship between June Carter and Johnny Cash that would, fortunately, when his marriage to Virginia left up, he ended up with June and they had a pretty big love story. But he did meet June Carter. And in 1963, on a Best Of album, came the iconic Ring of Fire. Oh, just before we get on to Ring of Fire, I Walk the Line. I just wanted to go back to that just a little bit first. And that's one of the lines, because you're mine, I'll walk the line. Now, Johnny Cash had a pretty big relationship with drugs and alcohol. It's a bit of I suppose, a bit of a demon that he never really was able to shake. But he realised in the 1950s that things were a little bit out of control. And he thought, because you're mine, I'll walk the line. It's a pretty big thing to say, hey, look, I'm going to change everything. I'm going to change my life. I'm going to change my habits. I'm going to change the way I are because I'm with you. And it's a really beautiful thing to say when someone as compelling and as loving as your partner is decides to say, hey, look, I want to actually change for you because I'm not doing so well and I want to walk the line for you. Pretty cool song for Johnny Cash to sing. And when the movie did come out, I think it was just a perfect line for this one because it really just shows off the demons that he had so well. June Carter and his first wife in particular, well and truly dealt with that. But in 1963, out came Ring of Fire. This came off his Best Of album. This song went to #1. It was in there for 7 weeks. And actually, this song got into the Grammy Hall of Fame. So Ring of Fire, all about love, the passion of fire, and all that sort of stuff. And speaking of fires, in 1965, we don't actually know how it happened, but the rumour is that Johnny just kind of fell asleep and there was a fire that went out of control. This fire actually burnt through several hundred acres of pristine wilderness. And Johnny was very lucky to actually not get killed in that fire himself. And the court they ended up settling out of court with that particular case. But it was clear around that time that Johnny had a pretty destructive drug habit. Things weren't going so well for him and he needed to make some changes. June Carter and Johnny Cash would have a beautiful love story going forward. And he did actually propose to June Carter on stage. And in the movie, there's a bit of a scene where that happens. So we've got a bit of a clip of Johnny Cash and June Carter singing Jackson. This particular duet won a Grammy Award as well. And it's sort of one of their most well-known pieces together. So we've got a TV version of Jackson below. It's around that time too that Johnny Cash realised he needed to make some changes and he became a Christian and he sort of converted to Christianity at that point. I mean, God is really close, I believe, to stories like this one. And, you know, he knows Johnny Cash better than anybody. And Johnny, despite having relapses from time to time, did find faith, and that's pretty cool. Johnny Cash then decided, I think because of Folsom Prison Blues, which was one of his first hits, he actually did a couple of gigs at Folsom Prison and St. Quentin Prison, and both of those albums were recorded live, and they both of those went to #1. And he, to actually play in a prison, I think it's pretty cool. To actually be able to have a way about you that connects with the prisoners is pretty cool as well. And Johnny Cash is just the guy to do that. So it's great to see him do that for prisons. And those albums, live albums, went to #1. I've already talked about the TV show from 1969 to 1971. Such artists as Linda Ronstadt, Kenny Rogers and First Edition, James Taylor and Ray Charles, just to name a few, all got gigs on that particular show. If you got on the Johnny Cash show, you know you had made it. Another thing that Johnny Cash was renowned for was getting aside artists who were on the fringes of their genre. Now, one of the classics here is Bob Dylan, who famously in 1965 got out his acoustic electric guitar at the Newport Folks Festival instead of playing his acoustic. So Bob Dylan got in a little bit of hot water for that, but because of people such as Johnny Cash, he kind of enabled Bob Dylan to ride through that time to become the iconic songwriter that we know Bob Dylan actually is. But in 1980, he was inducted, this is Johnny Cash, into the Country Music Hall of Fame. And around that time, he did perform the Highwaymen, and we've already seen a clip of these guys, Waylon Jennings, Chris Christopherson, Willie Nelson, and Johnny Cash. Now, I've talked about the June Carter, Johnny Cash love story. June Carter did leave us in 2003. One of the things that she said to Johnny Cash, hey, don't stop working, keep going. And it was actually in the last 4 months of his life that he did record over 60 songs. And so he well and truly did that. And he did die some 4 months later after his beloved June. There's been a few awards, so many, in fact. He's received Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. Rolling Stone put him number 34 of the top 100 artists of all time and number 21 of the top 100 singers of all time. For Association of Country Music Award, 9 Country Music Awards, 21 Grammy Awards. Country Music Hall of Fame, Grammy Hall of Fame, Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame. Now, Nashville, Tennessee is a music central in the United States. Rockabilly Hall of Fame, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and the Hollywood Walk of Fame, just to name a few. There's a few others, including the Arkansas Hall of Fame, very well regarded. There's been a streets named after him, a postage stamps done after him, and he's actually had some statues. So Johnny Cash is absolutely well regarded, not by America as an American treasure, but a world treasure, absolutely. Also the National Medal of Arts, which is a pretty high award, and the Golden Plate Award, just remembering that one as well. Between 1954 and 2003. Get your head around that for a second. Just under 50 years career. 97 albums. 97, that's without all the compilations, the singles and everything else. He did write over 1,000 songs, Johnny Cash, and most of the time he was with Columbia Records, and I'm sure they were very, very happy with that, because Johnny Cash sold around 90 million albums worldwide. So well and truly contributed to this contributive, collaborative legacy of this thing called music. So it's great to be able to give Johnny Cash a bit of a go today. And it's so good to see Joanne Phoenix play him so well in A Walk the Line a little while back. Johnny Cash deserved to have a movie made about him, and he did. So the links to those 8 clips are in the description below, and I've also included my last video from the Cat Empire, just for something completely different. So if you want to recap on them, feel free. Well, if this is your first time to Life Reflection True Music, or you come back for another one, how great to see everybody here. Next time, we're going to get on to Johnny Winter. So until then, I'll catch you around. Bye for now.